When women dare to fully be themselves, to rise up as the divine beings they are, to operate in their magic, their sexuality, their power, they are always labeled one thing: wicked.
Wicked is a podcast for women who dare to walk in their true identity, power, and magic. Who go against societal culture of being seen and not heard. Who are the black sheep and powerhouses the structure tries to defeat. And here is your shepherd leading you astray, Mystic.
Wow, has it been a minute? Well, you guys, I got some announcements to make before we get started today. There is some changes that are coming. Those of you that follow me on social media have probably noticed my handle changing. And I am switching over from the Mystic Raven to the Feral Feminine. This feels really crazy for me. The Mystic Raven, that's like how most of y'all know me, right? I created that handle and that account on Instagram and my website and all that, and my incorporation, all of that in 2017. And that's just always who I was, right? Mystic. I'm still Mystic. Still go by that name. Just my handle's changing. And my website will soon change. We are just, I'm doing a slower process because I'm going to have to redo the website myself and everything. So it's going to take some time. So my website's going to stay the same for now, themysticraven.com, as I go through and start changing things slowly. But my logo is changing, and so is my handles, and those have already changed. So you'll start seeing me as the Feral Feminine. And I really feel like, especially this new logo, it just embodies everything that I have become over the past few years. And it's an embodiment of everything that I am. And it's not that I have become someone new. It's that I am better integrated with my own self, who I have lost over the years of being in relationships that weren't for me, where I was suppressed from being my true self, religions that suppressed me, and, just countless other things that we all go through. It's not like my situation or scenario is special. I mean, I feel like every woman I talk to has, been in relationships with covert narcissists, or, just flat out narcissists, or even just being in relationships that are out of alignment with you will suck your energy. And a lot of times when you're going through it, you don't realize it until you're out of it. And, I've had about 15 years of this. So there has been a lot of, times where I have felt like I was being, true to myself, but there was always this part of me that I felt like I couldn't access. And I was just like, why do I feel like there's this whole part of my personality? I mean, those of you that listen to this podcast and grew up with me know that I'm a fucking loudmouth, bad bitch that doesn't give a fuck about nothing. I'll say anything to anybody's face and not care. And I never had a problem expressing myself in any way, shape, or form. And over the years of just being, I'll just use the word suppressed from different people in different ways, the boundary boxes that I was put in. And I know all of you women listening to this can relate. And you get told as a woman, there's a certain way that you need to be and behave and act and respond. And even if you don't realize that it's happening, it happens slowly over time, because through life situation scenarios, people you meet that make little comments, you start slightly adjusting things. And the reason why we do this is because there's an emotional response that happens when somebody is, even if they're just giving you like a negative comment, it could be something very minor. There's an emotional response that happens in your body, and it makes you feel a certain way that you don't like. And so you will adjust in order to, not feel that emotion because it's uncomfortable. And so what ends up happening is over time, a bunch of these little nicks start happening, and you start, little comment here, a little comment there, and then like some big event happens, or you get in a really shitty relationship or something like that, and you start conforming and changing. And it's not because you're trying to conform and change to what other people want. It's because you're conforming and changing to not feel an emotion that what those people are saying or doing, like their sentence is triggering something in you that's uncomfortable, and you don't want to feel that way. So you adjust to keep changing yourself, and you'll suppress yourself more and more, essentially, in order to not feel those things. And then over years of this happening, you are suddenly completely different. And so in my case, there was this whole part of me. And I mean, I've asked astrologers, I've asked really close friends of mine that are into spiritual work, like, why do I feel like I can't access like this one? Is there something astrologically going on in my chart? Is there something? I couldn't figure out why there was this part of me that like generally was fucking me. Why suddenly I couldn't like act on that? Like, why was there this whole part of me that just seemed to be like locked in a box? And, that's what shadow work is for, because especially the way that I teach shadow work, like it's very, very different from mainstream shit, of course, because when do I do anything mainstream? But I'm very different in my approach because I live my life this way. I didn't take a weekend certification in order to become something, and then now I have a certification on the wall. My initiation is my life path, and I do all of the fucking hard shit, and I do the hardest of the hard shit, and I face the darkest of the dark shit, so that, I want to be a better me, but that's how I come up with everything. And then I adjust it, especially in my one-on-one programs. I make it according and adjust things according to the people that need it, because everybody's path is different, but I know the base of how everything needs to be done, and it's done in a way where there's integration. So while I started my own shadow work process, it really started in going into my second trimester of pregnancy. That's when I first started feeling this disconnect from the Mystic Raven. And it's at the same time, I had just launched the Wise Woman Network, and I had somewhat of an idea for that, but I knew even what I had going on there wasn't 100%, but I just wanted to do it anyway. Like, I needed to get my energy flowing somehow. And so that went through a lot of changes. The women that have been in there since the beginning, you guys know, like, I have changed that program so many times. I've changed that. It's not really a program. I call it a coven now. So I've changed the coven. It went through a lot of shifts. It went from so I called it the Wise Woman Network. Then I shifted it to School of the Mystical Arts, SOMA, which was really cool. But then I felt like that was lacking this. Each one of those was like lacking a part of me, that it was like only focused on one aspect. So then, as I was going through a huge deconstruction after Zai was born, all the ladies in there were like, no, this is like the Wise Woman Network, because we're all coming together. So I switched the name back. And now I'm going to be putting it with a new logo and stuff. And it's like this full embodiment. Like, I finally feel like the embodiment of everything is happening. And like, there was always this, I have like the podcast called Wicked. And then like, it's like, yeah, wicked women, but also I talk about spiritual stuff that's wicked and countercultural. So that fits. And everything's slowly coming together. But when I did the shadow work and was, going through and trying to, it's not even like I was trying, it's just that so much shit was happening in that first year of Zion's life. And I was really faced with so many challenges that, like, I wasn't sure I was going to make it out of 2023, 2024. I'm serious. Like, we're talking levels of exhaustion, not even like, it was, yes, lack of sleep. Like, those of you that know Zai know I mean, I was getting maybe 45 minutes a night, 2 hours. If I was getting 2 hours of sleep in a night, that was incredible. Like, that was incredible. But there was time periods where I couldn't drive. My parents were picking me up. Like, I couldn't actually drive anywhere because it just was not safe to have the kids in the car with me driving around. And there was this, I was going through stuff with my ex at the time, and that was probably one of the worst experiences of my entire life. And not really ready to get in that conversation yet, but I will eventually, about what happened there. But everything, like, to have the person that you're so head over heels in love with, thinking this is your life partner, completely turn on you, and now you have to, we'll just say that it went from, head over heels to this is my life partner to this person is actually completely malicious against me while I'm caring for our newborn baby. And that should never be a thing in your postpartum. And I had to go through with and face a lot of things during that time period where it was requiring me to access these parts of me that were locked in a box. Like, I had to force that out because I had to stand up for myself verbally, physically. I had to make decisions that were the scariest decisions of my life. Like, being, I'm 100% reliant on somebody's income and then throwing them out of the house. And then what? I have nothing and I have 2 kids, but I knew that I wasn't going to be in that. So, like, there was so many things that I had to face during that time period. And there were so many mornings where, like, I couldn't get out of bed and I was so exhausted, but it's like, I have to, because I have to take care of my kids. And so it's like the struggle within that and trying to find the power to even do that. I had to access that part of me that was locked up. Now, within that process where I'm trying to pull that person, like, back out of my, like, psyche, I'm also having to do a lot of shadow work and assess shit and assess my relationship and assess myself and go through and ask myself why I'm settling for a mediocre life. And so I ain't a mediocre bitch, so that's not going to happen in my lifetime. So I kept pushing forward and doing all the different shadow work and meeting my demons over and over and over again until I became the devil. And when I say stuff like that, yes, I say it purposely to trigger religious people. But when you no longer are trying to slay your demons and cast out your demons and do all of that, like, religious shit, and you realize your demons are just, it's not an external thing. It's your demons. It's the things inside you. There are faces and masks inside you. And when you feel like you're being overcome by a demon, 99% of the time, it's just a part of yourself you're trying to overcome. So when I'm meeting these demons and I'm facing them head on, and I'm not trying to banish them or be like, oh my God, I can't act like this, I can't be like this. Fuck no, I'll lick every one of their faces and I will integrate that shit and I will become owner of that demon because it's my fucking demon. And I love that shit because I love every single part of me. Whatever society wants to label bad, whatever shameful, guilty, whatever, I love all that shit. That's who makes me me. And so the more I faced all this shit and owned it, rather than try to keep it in a fucking cage in the back of my unconscious hell, because that's what your unconscious mind is, it's hell. Instead of trying to keep it in a cage in hell, I let it free, and I just became it and integrated with it. And that's how you fully start to love yourself. You start erasing all of the cages that you've built around yourself, and you let yourself, you just free yourself. With every demon you release out of the cage and you shake hands with it, well, with me, licking faces, that's what I do, that you integrate that shit and you just become it. And then who's gonna fuck with you after that? Nobody. No, you can't. People will make comments, and that little emotion that you originally put one of them demons. So, like, every time someone makes a comment about something, that's going to be labeled a demon. You put it in a cage. Over time, you have a whole section of your personality in different cages. And so as you open up those cage doors and you let them out, guess what happens? You start becoming more and more yourself. You start integrating with it. You stop being afraid of the emotion that you're going to experience when somebody is saying something to you about you that you don't like. Especially me. So like, I'm a face in social media. Like you're gonna have haters. And a lot of you people listening to this, you want to have an account on social media where you're making money and running a business and stuff like that. Hello, you are gonna have trolls. You are gonna have haters. How are you gonna deal with that? And a lot of people, they stop themselves from even being seen in order to avoid the trolls. You're not actually trying to avoid the trolls. You don't know this person. There's some fucking nameless user 1237865 that lives in like fucking India or some shit, and they're saying something to you. It's not them. You don't even know them. It's the emotion that is triggering you. They say something and it hits a wound, or it hits something that you either fear or you have anxiety around. And when you read that, it creates an emotion in you, and then you're like, okay, I just can't. I can't deal with the emotion. You want to run from it. But when you start owning your demons, ain't nothing no one's going to say. When that emotion won't even rise up, you'll swallow that emotion and alchemize it and turn it into something good. I do it every single time I go live. There's people that hop in there and they talk shit, especially the Christians. They say, tell me I'm an abomination. Good. I love being an abomination for Jesus. Thank you. Like, what are they going to do? Anytime somebody says shit to me, I turn that shit into a kink and they don't know what to do. Like, what are you going to do if somebody is trying to talk shit to me on a public platform and I'm telling them that it's turning me on sexually, that they're saying that, they just hop off because they don't know what to do with that. That's like putting something disturbing in someone's face. They don't know what to fucking do. But I can do that because I own my fucking demons. They happen to be really sexual, whatever. Y'all know me. But like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, there comes a point in time in your life where you got to stop being afraid of the emotion that you're going to feel, and you just go through and do it. And that's what'll push you forward. And the reason that I know this is because I just did it for like 2 years straight. Every single time there was something that I had to do, and I was realizing the reason I don't want to do this is because I'm afraid of the emotion that it's bringing up in my body. It's not the actual thing. Usually it's fear of something, you know? So you face your fears, you swallow that shit up, and you do it anyway. Otherwise, you're going to be, if you're in the same fucking cycle and you're wanting change in your life, you can't be acting how you act right now. Do you understand that? You can't be the same bitch you are right now if you want to see any type of change in your life. Any type of change. You just can't. You need to actually face those fears. You need to act completely differently than you've been acting. Otherwise, you're going to have the same life. In order to have a new life, you have to act completely different. You have to be completely different. You have to show up completely different in your life. And it's not like you're pretending to be somebody else. I go over this in my shadow work program. You're not trying to be somebody else. Okay? You're trying to be someone that you already are. It's just that they're locked in those cages back in your hell. When are you going to release them? When are you going to release them, girl? If you're listening to this episode, you're getting some serious fucking keys right now. Like some serious keys. Like, this is what I go over in my one-on-ones. This is what I go over. I have the 7-day shadow work challenge. At the time of recording this, it's still on sale. Unleash. Bad bitch. Come on. Do it. What are you waiting for? Do you think you're going to wake up one morning and decide, just like suddenly have the courage to do something? No. You got to take steps. You got to go forward. You know, one of the things that has the biggest hold on women, well, it's like two things. One of them is going to be the toxic relationship that you are staying in. The toxic relationship you are staying in. And a lot of y'all have been in it for so long, you're rose-colored shading it, and you, as a survival mechanism, you're filtering everything that's going on in your life through this bubble you have created. You have created a bubble around yourself that things are okay, and every time your partner is doing shit that is not right, you're filtering it through this bubble so that by the time it enters into you, you have an excuse for it, or you think it's okay. And it's actually a bunch of bullshit. And I'll tell you what, you can't hide that shit from me. Women know this too, because I've had women come and go in my life because their unconscious mind knows I can see everything that's going on absolutely diluted in that relationship. I can see it all energetically because I can see it on the woman. I can walk by women in the street and I know what kind of relationship they're in. I see it. I know exactly what a healthy woman's aura looks like. And I know what a sucked up woman's aura looks like when she has a vampire ass fucking partner that is sucking her dry. I know how abused women are. I can see this shit. Your faces look a certain way. Your aura looks a certain way. There's an energetic vibe that comes off of you, and 9 out of 10 times it's a vibe of not wanting to be seen. Wanting to shrivel up and shrink yourself and not take up space. This comes from absolutely being in years of abusive relationships. Okay? And it's a comfort zone because that abusive relationship is actually what is feeding your dynamic of not wanting to be seen because something's sucking you dry. And so now you can blame like an external source for it rather than yourself. Yeah, I know what I just said. I said what I said. And I'm sorry. Think about that for a second. Because everybody in your life you have actually hired to be there. You've hired them to be there. Listen, if you're listening to this podcast, you have unconsciously hired me to come tell you this shit. So don't hate the messenger. You have hired me on an unconscious level energetically to come into your life and tell you this shit. Okay? So on an unconscious level, the partner you chose is keeping you in a very specific comfort zone. And you will tie yourself to this person and rose color shade that shit in order to keep an illusion going to purposely hold yourself back. And my friends, that's what the devil card is in the tarot. That devil in the center isn't some outside thing. It's fucking you. You are putting yourself in chains to hold yourself back, and you're tying yourself to partnerships to purposely hold yourself back. Because the unknown of what's on the other side of you being authentically yourself is scary. And so you will keep people around you to keep you in place. Because it's so scary being out of place and being on your own and being free. But it gets addicting. Because once you start going into your authenticity more and more and more, and maybe you let go of a couple friends, maybe you change your job, that's a really big step. And maybe when you start releasing these mindsets you have about yourself and you stop being afraid of emotions, because that's all this, do you understand all it is that you're fearing emotion? You don't want to feel a certain way. You don't want to feel fear. You don't want to feel maybe the pressure of not delivering. Okay, survival. You don't want to face all those emotions because they're uncomfortable. But guess what? We're human and we're supposed to feel all these emotions. I'll tell you what, do you know what enlightenment is? Do you know what becoming self-actualized is? Do you know what being self-realized is? It's being able to walk on all spectrums of the emotion without fear. And you go into it and you just suck that shit up and you walk through it. And you feel the fear, you feel the pain, you feel the hate, you feel the guilt, you feel the shame, you do all of it, but you don't own any of it. You walk through it. That's what walking through hell is. You don't need to walk on hot coals in the physical realm. That's not something you have to do. Do it emotionally. It's easier to do it in the physical realm than it is to a hot coal walk emotionally, because people want to ignore these emotions. It's too much for them. Because we're taught in our society that you have to feel happy all the time and only the good emotions are what you're supposed to be feeling. What a crock of shit. That's how they make money off you, and that's why you guys are all medicated. That's why you guys drink at night. It's why you go out and party on the weekends. It's why you're popping Xans and why you're doing Valium and all this other shit. Because we're told that we have to be a certain way. Okay, but what if you could face your biggest fear? I've done it multiple times over the past 2 years. An insane amount of times I had to face huge fears. Being homeless with my children, had to face that. Losing what I thought was the love of my life, I had to face that. I had to go to court. I had to file paperwork, restraining orders. I had to talk to the state attorney. I had warrants, all kinds of shit. I had to do that to the person I loved the most. no one wants to face that emotion. Most people won't even start that process because they'd rather stay in their cycle than have to face all that shit. Because that's all fear. But I went through it all. Because I told myself there's no way in fuck I'm going to live a life like this. So I kept going and I kept pushing. Did I want to do any of that? Nope. But I knew on the other side of it was going to be something great. And it fucking is. And so every time I had to wake up in the morning and face the fear, I went through it. And I faced it, and I became more strong and more powerful, and I started reclaiming my power back using that situation. You can't want to live an amazing life and then settle for mediocre just because you'd rather have mediocre emotions. I'd rather have a little bit of peace. I'd rather have a little bit of, I'd rather just be happy. I'd rather numb myself out and be dumb. And, I'd rather not know what's going on. I'd rather just drink on the weekends and party with my friends. It's just easier to do that. It's way more uncomfortable to do the other thing. You just gotta face your emotions. You have to walk through it. Think about it. You're scared of a feeling. Yeah, I totally didn't even, this was going to be the intro. This was not even the topic I was going to speak on today, but that's fine. I think I got a good rhythm down. I'm going to aim for 2 podcasts a month, guys. We're at like 26 minutes in. This is a whole episode, so I'm going to have to, next episode I'm going to talk about the submissive woman because this is a topic that I really want to, let's talk about that one. Anyway, listen, as a woman, you actually have the ability to walk a path of going through levels of emotion that men can't go through. And I'm not saying they don't have the emotional range that we do, because they do. But the way we are connected to Gaia, the way we are connected to the moon, and the amount of hormones that we have in our body that control a lot of things, and we are made for the void. Because we're made to be mothers. And because we're made to give birth, that means that, when you give birth, you die. The same amount of DMT is released in your brain as in death. And because that's what gives you access to the void. And so we know how to die and we know how to resurrect. And within a death and resurrection, do you know what kind of emotions you meet in that process? Yeah. It's calcination and dissolution in alchemy. I teach it in my main course. So when you go through those phases, it's hard. But I'm telling you, shaking hands and integrating those demons and owning that shit and becoming the devil yourself, yeah, that's a whole other level. You can do this easier. Listen, it's not that it's easier. You have a unique, spiritual ability as a female to experience depth of emotion. Listen, you can go to India and be a guru in a certain sect of Tantra that they physically go through stuff to face this type of emotion, to try and it's basically like you're meeting Shiva on every end of the spectrum. As a woman, you don't need to do any of that physical shit. You can do it emotionally. You can do it on a daily basis. You don't need to leave this country to go do it. Yeah, I'll talk. I talk. See, I'm only going to say so much on a podcast. This is what the coven's for. Because I can say a lot more stuff. You really got to take full advantage that you're a female and that you are this fucking blessed that you can do all of this. Because it's incredible. You have the opportunity to kill yourself and be reborn every month, every day. You can have it be a slow process. You can have it be a big process. And you can change who you are constantly. You have what it takes just because you're a woman. It's just nobody told you that. You have been spending your life walking, being pushed down and listening to what society tells you need to be in your religions. I reached a point in my path where anything that I considered moral, what I consider moral, are those even my morals? Or are they my family morals or my religious morals that I grew up in, or my society morals? Maybe I'm very amoral. Maybe I'm just the worst of the worst. Who knows? Do you want to meet yourself in that way? Who are you when you strip away who your parents were? Or when are you going to stop blaming mommy and daddy for all your problems? Or the society that you grew up? When are you going to stop blaming anything for your problems other than yourself? All these things that you agree to, any type of oppression that you're agreeing to because of your gender, anything, you're making an agreement with that it does in fact oppress you. So heal what you need to heal and go through that and do what you need to do and face the uncomfort in that, but then meet that fucking demon that you think's oppressing you and integrate it, and it won't anymore. You use it for your benefit, and you'll send that demon out into the world to do favors for you. Okay, if you have a demon of oppression, guess what? Use that for your benefit and go have it oppress your opponent so you get the job and not them. I don't care. Why? Just go fucking do it. You got to meet them first. You got to know how to handle it. You got to overcome it. You got to be the owner of it. This works with anything. Your demons will do good things for you. They'll do bad things for you. You can have them do whatever you want. The right and wrong is what you are making up in your own head. So come up with your own principles then and live by those. And you hold your own self accountable. Don't expect anybody else to do it outside of you though. You have to write your own rules. You are a walking, living, breathing matrix. You're not trying to exit a matrix. Stop with the escapism. You're not trying to exit a matrix. You're not trying to, it's the same thing as like when the church talks about the rapture. We're ascending to 5D. You ain't going fucking nowhere. You're a human. You're here on Earth. You're not ascending to 5D. You're here, okay? Your flesh isn't going anywhere anytime soon, hopefully. So you have your own matrix that you live in, okay? And the one that is here on Earth that you are defaulted into, it is just reflecting back to you your own matrix. It's like a computer program, and your unconscious mind has all the code, and you're in there, you're typing it up. Okay, this, that, boundary boxes here, and this is how much you're going to get paid, and anything out of this is uncomfortable, and these are the type of partners you're going to have, and this is what the world is against you, and everybody hates you because you're a woman, and your parents did this to you, and you put that all in your programming, and then, okay, you got your matrix, awesome. And now you're going to ascend to the 5th dimension? Like, get a grip. No. What you need to do is go into the computer programming, your unconscious mind, and be like, delete, and then you're gonna, new code. It takes learning code. Do you have what it takes to learn code? Are you afraid you're gonna type in something wrong and crash the system? So you just default to a specific system that's already in play, which is your boring ass 9 to 5 grind, get drunk on the weekends, sleep around. Like, that's what you want to opt into? The whole world, that sounds good to you? Of everything that you could possibly become, do, and be, that sounds good to you? If so, then fine, keep your fucking programming. That ain't good enough for me. And I hope if you're listening to this, it ain't good enough for you either, and that's why you're fucking here. So I guess we talked about something completely different today. This is good, though. This is shadow work good. This is what shadow work is. Shadow work ain't fucking journaling and carrying around fucking black crystals. And, part of it is, realizing your childhood trauma. But if you think you're doing shadow work and you're still blaming shit on mommy and daddy, you need to level up now. You need to level up. The shadow work workbook that's like popular on TikTok. I've never looked at it. I'm not putting it down or anything. I'm just saying a workbook isn't going to do what actually needs to be done. It'll bring stuff to the surface out. It may bring, and again, I do not know what this, I've never looked through the content, so I don't even know if it's good or not. It just kept coming up on my, For You page, like maybe a year ago. But, getting stuff out on paper, great, because now you can see it. But now what? Great, it's in your face. Now what? That maybe gave you a little bit of change. But now what? What are you going to do next? What's your next steps? How are you going to actually change your reality? And this is why a lot of y'all manifestations don't come true. And they don't happen. Oh, well, I'm listening to affirmations and falling asleep to on YouTube. Okay, cool. Like, that's not, what is that going to do? You fall asleep to, like, you know, somebody saying the same affirmation over and over again. That, okay, maybe it's going to reprogram a little bit, but that's not going to, nope. You got to actually do the work. You actually have to get very uncomfortable, because how comfortable is it for you to sleep in your cozy little bed with your headphones on at night? So comfortable. Do you really think you're going to change your whole life in your sleep? In your cozy little bed? No. That's why the majority of the people stay exactly where they are. They either don't want to break the programming of, like, you know, just drinking on the weekends, doing whatever. They don't want to, they want to just sleep and have it something like a magic deposit happen in their bank account in the morning. If you think self-love is going to happen because you're listening to a certain frequency in somebody, or you're going to manifest like a partner because that's what because you're listening to stuff on YouTube when you sleep, like, that's not going to happen. You have to actually do the work. You have to actually go into your unconscious mind. You got to do exactly what I just said. You got to not be afraid of your demons anymore and stop trying to cast them out and stop trying to run from them. You have to actually go in, meet them, lick their faces, or, I mean, you can shake their hands if you want, but come on, they're demons. Act a little demonish, girl. And make one with them. Really? Because I'll tell you what, when you integrate with those demons, you become rulers your hell, and you walk as the devil herself. Nothing is more wicked than that.
Want to be part of an online community filled with other badass women supporting each other on their wicked journey? Check out my online community, the Wise Woman Network. We have classes, courses, online community meetings, and more. Activate that sleeping goddess within and unleash your divine power. Join me today on a free trial to all my listeners. Link is in the show notes. I'll see you there.